Good morning, Steve Jolly here with Benchmark Realty, and I want to thank you for joining us this morning on the Music City Show. We are so glad you could join us this morning. We want to thank you for being a loyal listener, and we've got an interesting show lined up for you this morning. It's kind of a follow-up from what we were talking about last week with the biggest threats to Nashville's long-term growth. But today, instead of talking about those threats, we're going to talk about what can you do, what can I do as an individual, as a citizen in Nashville to help eliminate some of these threats. Now, if you remember last week, I talked to you about the four big threats to Nashville. But today I just want to focus on the main two because I think these solutions will be good will help with all four of these situations. But the number one problem was affecting Nashville's financial situation. Nashville's been less than transparent about their financial, or at least the government of Nashville, over the last few years, and it's caused some problems. They've done a lot of good things, but this is probably one of the biggest things that they've overlooked, and it's kind of been hidden because of the way accounting rules were, and because nobody's really talking about it, or hardly anybody. There's been a few people. And that first one is what accountants call OPEB, or other post-employment benefits, but in Nashville's case, it's specifically around retiree health care benefits. Back in 2014, Mayor Dean got a group of civilians together, formed a committee, and asked them to study Metro Nashville's finances to see where they could help. This citizen-led committee came to the conclusion that was very unpopular. In fact, it was so unpopular that SEIU and the Metro Council, or they pressured the Metro Council to disband this committee. Well, under public pressure, that committee was reformed, and they concluded in 2015 that these post-retirement benefit plan, one of the most generous plans in the nation, was unsustainable, and that in fact that we were spending, our at that point in time, back in 2015, our unfunded total, what we were on the hook for, was $2.3 billion. In just 4 years, and by 2019, that had doubled to $4.6 billion. And it's growing at a rate of 34% a year, which is unsustainable. If post-retirement health care was a department, it would be the third most expensive department in Metro, just behind public schools and the police department. So you can see it's a huge expense. But Metro Council took that advice and then shot it down. And then a few years later, Bob Mendez tried to bring that subject up again. But what he did was just want to cancel it just for the Metro Council people. Cancel, because currently right now, if you serve 2 terms on Metro Council, you get post-retirement health benefits for life. You still have to pay 25%, but Metro's covering 75% for life, even after Medicare kicks in. So you can see it just doesn't make sense. But mostly it's been, who's fought against it is SEIU and our own Metro Council. So in order to change that, in order to bring this to something more realistic, something in line with our peer cities, because we're spending $180 million more per year than our peer cities, we have to do something about it. So that's what we're going to talk about today. How can we, you and I, eliminate these threats to Nashville? So I can't give you specific instructions on what you need to do, because some of that depends on you. And what you want to do and what you feel comfortable with doing. But what I can do is give you a framework to work around for you to think about, to see how you can best get involved and best make an impact to your home city, to your hometown, Nashville. So let's take a look. So the first part of this framework is time. And time is one of the most valuable things we have. So it's something a lot of us don't want to give up. But in order to correct this problem, we're going to have to do that, because as Nashvillians, we've been pretty much ignoring Metro Nashville and letting their finances run the way they want to. We haven't had a whole lot of impact on what they're doing. They've just gone along doing what they're doing, regardless of what the public wants. So we've got to make sure that we do the research ahead of time. So we vote the right person in office. We need to develop relationships with those people before they get into office, so that as they get in there, we have some ability and we have a way to influence them, and then eventually hold them accountable for the decisions that they make, because they're going to get under pressure from unions, from city employees, from who knows who, on whoever are all the stakeholders in any of the decisions they make. They're going to get a lot of pressure, and so we need to also put that same pressure on there, because we're the ones footing the bill. Homeowners in Nashville pay most of the bills for Metro Nashville through property taxes, and they're getting ready to increase that by 32%. More than likely. So we've got to, they've held the taxes low, so that's one good thing, but to keep the revenue down, but they haven't kept the spending in line. And so we're probably going to have to look at both, increasing taxes and also cutting these big costs in order to get Metro Nashville's finances in line with the rest of cities of our size, in order for us to continue to grow and attract new business and attract jobs and keep Nashville going the way that we want to. So the second part of that framework is talents. We're talking about time. Part number 2 is talents. So you've got to decide, what are you good at? What are your skills? And how can you use those skills to help other people? And I'll give you an example. For me, one of the skills that I have is being a teacher. I teach folks in a lot of different ways, through marketing, through real estate, through technology, and several other ways. So that is one of the skills that I have. So I've got to find a way for me to use that to help the community at large and help solve this inequity problem. So if I can help people and help them pull themselves up and become successful, productive people, help them achieve the dreams that they want to achieve, then that is what we have to do. So that's where we have to really use our talents. It's not in a way that we're used to doing, but it's a way that we really need to do as a society if we're really going to grow. Because if we have 17% of our people living below the poverty line. If that was even at the national average of 11%, Nashville would be in a much better shape. We'd have a higher tax revenue. We'd have more productive people. We'd be spending less on social services. So it's all and it's just better for everyone as a person. Who wants to live below the poverty line? Nobody does. So it's the best thing to do. And so the last part about talents that I want to talk about, and it's kind of talents and treasure, but I think that we all need to adopt one person, one family, one community to try to have an impact on. If one person does that, that's a great thing, right? Or that's a good thing. If 10 of us or a whole group of us do that, that's great. We're starting to create a movement. But if 10,000 of us did that, we could really make a difference in Nashville and in our future. So I want you to consider that, adopting one person, one family, adopting a group of people to help. The third part of that framework is what I call the treasures. And to me, treasures are the least important part of that. I think your time and your talent are much more valuable to other Nashvillians, to other citizens, to the community than your treasure. But we still have to give. And so before you give, make sure you do research and then invest in those who support your principles, who support what you want to achieve, who support the greater good for Nashville. If you don't know where to start with any of these things and you want some help, give me a call, text me 615-257-9996. I will be glad to walk beside you to help you through this process as I'm walking through it myself. All right, sounds good? If you need me, reach out to me. I am here for you. So now we've got this part of the section over, let's dive into the market update for the week. And you'll notice we're settling into a nice pattern here, which is good because a few months ago we were all worried what was going to happen, what was going to be the impact of COVID and all these other crises that were happening at the same time. So you can see the trend for sales in Nashville is kind of flat. We're still not keeping up with 2019 because we should be slightly increasing this time of year. If you see the light orange line, that kind of dictates of where we were last year, and you can see it's starting to increase. The peaks at the end of the month are starting to increase, and so we need to see that also in 2020. I expect it'll be another month or two before that kicks in. Sales are always a trailing indicator, so we're looking at prior month's performance. The other thing you have to consider too is that a lot of homes 25% of the homes that are going under contract right now are new construction that are going to close later in the year. New listings, we are starting to see a slight increase in new listings. And so that is a positive sign. That's a sign we're starting to come out of the funk that we've been in. And that's all, but this is a leading indicator. So we won't see these turn into closed sales for 30 to 90 days or even longer for new construction. So a slight increase is good for future performance. Here where we're really showing demand is in the number of showings. So 8 out of the 9 weeks, our trend here has been positive. We've had one down week, which was Memorial Day weekend here in Nashville, but 8 of the 9 weeks, we've had increasing showings. So that's a great sign. It shows there's still strong demand in Nashville. And this next slide showing up on the homes that are going under contract really proves my point there. So we're 9 weeks straight of homes going under contract. We're like 1,700 homes went under contract last week. So that's huge. Once again, this is a leading indicator. These will, on average, take 30 to 90 days to close unless it's new construction. And then it could be 6 to 8 months for those properties to close, depending on where they are in that process. The good news is our sales aren't, although we're about 20% down from last year, they're not declining. And the trend, looking at our leading indicators, is all positive going forward. So let's hope that we continue to practice these social distancing so that we can keep going back to work safely. We can keep fewer people being sick. We don't have to go back into any lockdown mode, especially as we approach the fall. So that is the market update for this week. So one thing I want to share with you, if you are concerned about the value of your home and what has happened to it, because all real estate is local, not every place is flat. Some places are increasing, some places are decreasing, depend on the demand for that area. So if you want to know what your home is worth now, if you go to NashvillePrices.com, type in your address, I'll give you up to 2 automated values. And then if you want a custom value for your home, I'll be glad to do that for you too. Now, next week on the Music City Show, I'm going to talk about the one question you should always ask your agent. And this will help you sell your home faster. This will help you make sure that you get the most amount of money. And this will help make sure that you have the least amount of frustrations and headaches with your home sale. So if you want to know what that one question is, tune in next week. So thank you again for tuning into the Music City Show this week. I really appreciate your loyalty. Take care. You all have a great week. Peace and love. Peace and love, y'all.